الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى آل بيتك الطيبين الطاهرين. صلى الله عليك وعلى ابن عمك الشهيد المحراب علي بن أبي طالب عليه السلام، وعلى بضعتك الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء المظلومة المغصوبة، وعلى ولدك السبط الحسن المجتبى المقطع الأحشاء ورابع أصحاب الكساء، وعلى ولدك الحسين شهيد كربلاء ومسلوب العمامة والرداء. طبتم سادتي وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم، وفزتم هنيئا لكم. يا ليتنا يا ليت نفوز بأهل ثاركم فيكون فوزا عظيما. Tonight, inshallah, we have a short talk. We will talk about Muslim bin Aqil, shortly by Muslim bin Aqil, Hani bin Urwa, and what you can call the origin story of Muhammad bin Ubayd al-Thaqafi in Kufa. So the events revolve around some activities in Kufa, and we'll hand over to the brothers to read Hadith al-Kithar. تقبل الله منا ومنكم صالح الأعمال. السلام على الحسين الذي ذبح عطشانا، يا حسين تركتها يوم التروية ولا زالت تنزل اللعنة غضبها عليهم، فإليك حججت يا قبلة الله. توكل على الله.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله قال سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال السلام عليك يا فاطمة، فقلت عليك السلام. قال إني أجد في بدني ضعفا، فقلت له إذك بالله باته من الضعف. فقال يا فاطمة ائتني بالكساء اليماني فغديني به، فأتيت بالكساء اليماني فغديته به وسرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلاء كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه، فقلت عليك السلام يا خرة عيني وثمرات فؤادي. فقال يا أمه إني شم عندك رائحة طيبة كان راهية جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. فقلت نعم إن جدك وتحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جده يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوزي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه، فقلت عليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرات فؤادي. فقال لي يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كان راهية جدي رسول الله. فقلت نعم إن جدك واقعك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جده والسلام عليك يا من اختاره الله، وتأذنه لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء. فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافي أمتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كان رائحة أخي وابن أمي رسول الله. فقلت نعم ها هو ما عمل ذلك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء. قال وعليك السلام يا أخي ووسي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد الإمام والمهدي وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا باته يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء. قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بزتي قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد الإمام والمهدي وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرف الكساء وأومأ بيد اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وهامتي لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن آذاهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم. فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم واذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد الإمام والمهدي وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مزية ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا في محبتي هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد الإمام والمهدي وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. فقال أمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء. فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة هم فاطمة وأبوها وبالها وبنوها. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد الإمام والمهدي وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. فقال جبرائيل يا ربي أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا. فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مزية ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلك يسري ولا إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم. فهل تأذنون لي يا رسول الله. فقال رسول الله عليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد الإمام والمهدي وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله والذي بعثني بالحق نبي واصطفاني برسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرون هذا في محافل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شياطين ومحبين إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيئتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبي واصطفاني برسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محافل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شياطين وفيه مهموم إلا وفرج الله همه ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وخاز الله حاجته. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وسويدنا وكذلك شيئتنا فاز وسويد في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد الإمام والمهدي وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أهل بيت الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام العارف بحرمتك، المخلص في ولايتك، المتقرب إلى الله بمحبتك، البريء من أعدائك، سلام من قلبه بمصابك مفروح، ودمعه غير عند ذكرك مسفوح، سلام المفجوع الحزين الواله المستكين. These are some of the words from the ziyarah of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, where we send the blessings on Imam Hussein and Imam Sajjad and the family of Imam Hussein. So actually, Ali ibn Hussein actually here refers to, in according to some people, Ali Akbar alayhi salam, because of the sacrifice that he made. But either way, Imam Hussein alayhi salam had various sons, several sons called Ali. So it was a name that Imam Hussein alayhi salam repeated amongst his children. And the meat of this, or the heart of this, the ziyarah, it basically means that peace be upon you, O Abu Abdullah, O Imam Hussein. Again, Abu Abdullah, there's a difference of opinion. Is it Abu Abdullah, father of Abdullah, because of Abdullah al-Radi, the babe, the milk suckling babe, or is it because of some other reason? Some people say actually, because normally in the Arab world, the kunya, or the title of father of somebody, is based on the eldest of the children. So it would be Abu Ali, but they would call it Imam Hussein alayhi salam Abu Abdullah. So some say it's just a general term. Some might say it's because of taqiyya, to protect the identities of Imam Hussein alayhi salam's children. But either way, the ziyarah is saying peace from someone who recognizes your sanctity and who is pure and sincere in your wilaya, in your allegiance to you, and who, through your love, wants to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because everyone knew and still know today that you cannot get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you don't have the love of Ahlul Bayt in your heart and you don't follow Ahlul Bayt. It's well known across the Muslim world. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Muslim bin Aqil, Hani bin Urwa, and also a little bit about Mukhtar bin Ubayd al-Thaqafi. So I want to start by reading a few words from Sayyid Ahmed Al-Hasan salamullahi alayhi, where he talks about the taqsir, or we can say, let's call it the Ummah letting down, or the leaders of Kufa letting down Ahlul Bayt. Just before we get into that, it's important to understand a little bit about Muslim bin Aqil. The Muslim bin Aqil, as you can tell from the name, Muslim is the son of Aqil, who was a brother of Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. His nasab is Muslim bin Aqil bin Abi Talib. And Muslim bin Aqil was, where to start with this great individual? Whichever part of his life you start with, we find that he is highly praised, as a great status in Islam. So Muslim bin Aqil was of that group of, let's say, Shia warriors from Ahlul Bayt, who were in the battle of Siffin with Imam Ali alayhi salam, as was Maulana Abu Fadl Abbas, Maula Abu Fadl Abbas bin Ali. He was also in that battle, as well Al-Hasan wal-Hussein. The Muslim bin Aqil is narrated actually was leading a group of the warriors, or the champions of Imam Ali in the battle of Siffin, which was against, as we know, Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan and Amr bin al-As up towards Syria. So he was a champion, as was Mawla Abu Fadl Abbas. He was also a champion of Banu Hashim. So he was highly trustworthy, highly trusted by Imam Hussein. His job actually was to prepare the way for Imam Hussein in Kufa. The Kufa, as we heard the other night, it was a place which was like, you can say, sought after. There was competition to try and have influence in Kufa. It had been a garrison town. It had been built up in the times of the Umayyads to be a garrison town. It had a lot of lovers of Ahl al-Bayt there, but it had the eye of the Syrians there as well, because they were always looking to see where were the powerhouses of Islam. And Kufa was a city from which so many letters had come to Imam Hussein alayhi salam when he was in the Hijaz. He was in the Makkah Mukarramah, he was in Al-Madinah Munawwarah. Some say that 18,000 letters had reached Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So Imam Hussein alayhi salam actually prepared Muslim bin Aqil and sent him to Kufa. So some key notes to bear in mind here. Middle of Ramadan in 60 after Hijrah, Muslim bin Aqil leaves Makkah for Kufa, carrying letters of allegiance which had been received by Imam al-Hussein from the people of Kufa. 5th of Shawwal, so Rajab, Sha'ban, Ramadan, Shawwal. So Shawwal comes after Ramadan. So let's say 20 days later, Muslim arrives in Kufa, so it takes around 20 days to reach Kufa. This gives you an idea of the journey, of the distance from Makkah to Iraq. So Muslim bin Aqil arrives in Kufa, and he then goes to the house of Mukhtar bin Ubayd al-Thaqafi, Mukhtar bin Abu Ubayd al-Thaqafi. He goes to his house. Then from there, he goes to the house of Hani bin Urwa. So at that time, Mukhtar was known to be a lover of the Ahl al-Bayt. But the story gets more complicated with Mukhtar as time goes by. Anyhow, he went from the house of Mukhtar bin Abu Ubayd to the house of Hani bin Urwa. Once he reached the house of Hani bin Urwa at this time was quite old. So some narrations say he was around 90 years old. Mukhtar was much younger, but Hani was known to be a lover of Ahl al-Bayt, trusted by the Shia. They will say wujuh, min wujuh Shia, which means the faces of the Shia, or you can say the leaders of the Shia community. Then, middle of Shawwal, Muslim receives widespread bay'ah, which is allegiance, from up to around 18,000 people. So this is middle of Shawwal. This is the month after he had left Makkah. So 20 days it took him to reach Kufa, and then another 10 days or so, he is receiving allegiance from the people of Kufa. They're giving him allegiance. So it looks like the mission is succeeding. By end of Shawwal, so another 15 days, or let's say 12, 13 days later, what happens? Ibn Ziyad arrives in Kufa as a new governor. So why did Ibn Ziyad, may Allah curse him, why was he sent to Kufa by Yazid? Well, the narrations say that Yazid had a Roman advisor called Sarjun. A Sarjun, Roman, nothing to do with Islam. Probably hypocrite, enemy of Islam, an enemy of Ahlul Bayt. So Yazid said, well, I got some news that Nu'man bin Bashir is not very hard on the Alawiyin. So Sarjun says, why don't you replace him with Ibn Ziyad? At that time, Ibn Ziyad is said to have been the governor of Basra. So he said, call Ibn Ziyad. Ibn Ziyad was known to be an enemy, harsh, cruel against any of the Shia, any of Shia to Ali. So Yazid, Lanatullah alayhi, gives another Mal'un, Ibn Ziyad, another cursed individual, governorship of two cities then. First of all, he was already governor of Basra. Now he's given him governorship of Kufa. So Ibn Ziyad, enemy of Allah, makes his grand entrance to Kufa as the new governor, replacing Nu'man bin Bashir. This is the end of Shawwal. Then we get into Dhul Hajjah. Of course, Dhul Hajjah, as we know, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he is getting closer to Karbala. So here is when it gets a bit complex. So as we know, Ibn Ziyad tried to have people guard the houses, watch the houses of the Ayyan Shia, or you could say the leaders of the Shia, like Mukhtar, also like Hani bin Urwa, also like Muslim bin Awsaja. So he somehow had people go in. Ghammis means like as disguise, pretending to be Alawiyin, supporters of the Ahl al-Bayt, and they infiltrated the houses of the leaders of Kufa, who were the supporters of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So they would go in and find out secrets. And at that time, it's even narrated that Ibn Ziyad entered the house of Mukhtar, entered the house of Hani ibn Urwa as well. But Hani ibn Urwa, although he could have had him killed, he didn't have him killed in some narrations. In some narrations, it says that Ibn Ziyad actually went in Malfoof, mutalafsim, that's in Arabic, as disguised like this. So when he entered Kufa, some people thought it was Imam Hussein, and they were welcoming Imam Hussein. Then he, like a spy, he found out, oh, this person is a supporter of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So Ibn Ziyad, being a tyrant, cruel person that he was, when he began to find out who is, supporting Muslim bin Aqil is getting a lot of allegiance now, and he's getting support in the mosque, and he's praying, people are praying behind him. Then he had Hani arrested, he had Mukhtar arrested. And the narrations say that there was obviously debates, arguments between him and Mukhtar and him and Hani, but at one point Mukhtar was imprisoned, and Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad had attacked Mukhtar on the head and split his head and his eye here, and he had been imprisoned. And later on, then Hani bin Urwa and Muslim bin Aqil had been arrested as well. Hani bin Urwa had been arrested, but actually Hani bin Urwa, when he was arrested, he was severely beaten. But in the meantime, Muslim bin Aqil had managed to evade arrest for some time. But because Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad had been pressurizing and scaring the people of Kufa, sending spies everywhere, and threatening people in the streets that whoever hides any Alawi or has any allegiance to Imam Ali or Al-Bayt, then they'll be killed, tortured, hanged, punished. Then people began to slowly distance themselves from Muslim bin Aqil. So he would scare people, saying that the army of Syria will come and will attack you. This was the tactic of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. And in this time, it's known that Muslim bin Aqil, actually, he wasn't captured immediately. What happened was that Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad sent one of his generals with 300 men to try and capture Muslim bin Aqil. And Muslim bin Aqil, salamun alayhi, being the warrior he was, they say he was built like a lion, was very, very ferocious. So he attacked the people who had come to arrest him, and he'd fought them off. It was a fierce battle. And then the general of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad went back to him, and Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad said, "Where is the one I told you to arrest?" And he said, it's only one person. How come you didn't arrest him? And his general said, "Well, you sent us to fight someone who was like a lion. We couldn't get him." So then things went, at one point, even when it's narrated that when Muslim bin Aqil found out that Hani bin Urwa had been arrested and was about to be imprisoned, then he went to the palace of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad he gathered a force of around 4,000 people. So they're moving at night time towards the palace to try and free Hani bin Urwa. But by the time they reached the palace in the dark, he saw there was only maybe 200-300 people with him. Everybody else had disappeared. So this was a situation in which Muslim bin Aqil found himself. So all this time, Imam Hussein al-Islam was either on his way to reach Karbala, or he's now in Karbala. Because by the time that Hani bin Urwa is arrested, it's now more or less 7th of Dhul Hajjah. And Imam Hussein al-Islam has been in Karbala since the 2nd of Dhul Hajjah. And it's narrated that they stopped or turned off the water, stopped them from accessing the water by around 4th of Dhul Hajjah. So he's in his thirst. All the while, whenever Imam Hussein al-Islam on the way to Karbala this Imam Hussein is Sahib al-Kashf. This is the thing which is sometimes heartbreaking, but this is the test. This is the test. Imam Hussein al-Islam is Sahib al-Kashf, which means Allah shows him anything Allah wants him to see in the earth and the heavens. However, when caravans are coming by on the way to Karbala, he's asking them, is there any news of Kufa, any news of Muslim bin Aqil? What happened with Muslim and the revolution? So maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed him something, but it seems maybe he didn't do. Maybe he kept this knowledge away from the Imam. Perhaps it would have caused him too much pain. So the Imam was always trying to ask what happened in Kufa. So by around 7th of Dhul Hajjah, Hani ibn Urwa is arrested and severely beaten by enemy of Allah, Abdullah ibn Ziyad. And then after 8th of Dhul Hajjah, it's narrated that Muslim bin Aqil, he went with a whole group of people to try and free Hani ibn Urwa. Hani ibn Urwa, like I said, was around 90 years old, brothers and sisters, 90 years old by this time. 9th of Dhul Hajjah, what happens then is, Muslim bin Aqil, he sees now not only have people left the Bay'ah, the 18,000, where's the 18,000 people? Where are they all? Where is everyone? Everyone has disappeared. The final attempt to go and storm the castle, those castles were not like Scotland, the UK castles. If you've ever been to Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara, you go to Qasr Urwa bin Zubayr, for example, which is there, the old house of Sayyidah Fatima bint al-Husayn. If you go there, you see it's like a couple of stories high. It was a couple of stories high, made of maybe mud. Maybe there was a tower there with guards on top. It wasn't like, the Bastille in France in the French Revolution. It wasn't like Alcatraz. These were places that with enough power, you could break the door down, get inside. Yeah, they were made of bricks sometimes, but not made of like the red bricks of modern days. They were made of like mud bricks. So they weren't as daunting, as scary as some people might think. So enough people could smash down maybe a door, get inside, smash into the jail perhaps, get out Hani ibn Urwa. But by that time, Muslim bin Aqil Salamullah alayhi had been abandoned, more or less totally abandoned. And this is where it gets closer to the end now. Then he realized what's happening. He is completely isolated. So he was looking for somewhere to drink water, stay the night. You can imagine in those days, you didn't have, bottles of water in fridges that you go by or restaurants where you can go and drink water. You had to go to well, maybe hide, ask somebody for water in their house. So he was going from door to door looking for somewhere for refuge. He finally came across the house of somebody who was narrated as being called Tawa. Tawa was an older lady who was a lover of Al-Bayt. It's narrated that he knocked on the door, he asked for refuge, asked for water, she invited him inside. She was old. And he told her who he was, and she told him to hide. So he hid in what may have been like maybe a tannoor in those days. It was in a big oven, there's no fire, no smoke there. Just sit inside this tannoor. Sit inside the tannoor. And over time, after some time, her son who was actually enemy of Al-Bayt. And so he came and he found out that Muslim bin Aqil is hiding inside the house. And he had the army of Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, the enemy of Allah, come and arrest Muslim. So Muslim Salamun alayhi was finally arrested. And he was taken to the castle or the fort of Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, an enemy of Allah, Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad. Then he then ordered for his execution, and Muslim bin Aqil Salamullah alayhi was taken to the roof, and they say he was thrown off the top of the roof. This is Muslim bin Aqil, son of Aqil, who is son of Abi Talib, cousin of Imam Ali, a nephew of Imam Ali alayhi salam, and warrior who was on the side of Imam Ali alayhi salam in Siffin, face to face with Maulana Abu Fadl al-Abbas. These are the best of the best, the pure blood of Rasulullah, Prophet Muhammad. And this is what they did to him. They threw him from the roof. They threw him from the roof. Even you wouldn't do this to your worst enemy. He wouldn't do this to an animal, never mind. Someone like Muslim bin Aqil. And then it's also narrated that what they did with Hani bin Urwa. Hani bin Urwa, when he was in front of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, the enemy of Allah, and Ubaidullah, the enemy, would beat anyone who came. These evil people would have a stick and they would just smack people on the face. There was no principle. It was not like ancient Japan where, the Marigas, you bow to the enemy, you respect them, you do seppuku, you let your enemy do, harikari, disembowel himself, you bow to him, you respect him. It wasn't like this. These people were evil, cruel, heartless, scumbag people. Anyone who comes smack him on the face with a stick. If the woman's there who loves the Alawiyin, threaten her that I will do what I want with you, threaten her with rape, kill children, beat somebody, throw them in jail, throw away the key. Hani ibn Urwa was brought before Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, and Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, being evil as he was, he also debated, rebuked Hani ibn Urwa. Hani ibn Urwa had actually initially resisted going to the castle. He'd been called, summoned by the evil tyrant Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad actually, and he had resisted going. But when he realized that there was no way to avoid this, and maybe he can go and debate and talk reason into Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, possibly because Hani was 90 years old. He was very respected in the community of Kufa. He's maybe white hair, white beard, noble individual. So he went, and Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad told him off, rebuked him, and he said to him, where is Muslim bin Aqil? He's in your house. Give him to me. But at that point, Muslim had been hiding, had not been in front of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. And Hani ibn Urwa, first of all, avoided the conversation. But then when he realized that there was no way to avoid this man, he said to him, had he been under my foot, I wouldn't have lifted my foot to show him to you. This is the true love of those of the Bayt. They wouldn't give up any one of the progeny of Prophet or supporters of Imam Hussein. So then they beat Hani bin Urwa. And it's narrated that they dragged him. They dragged him into the bazaar, into the marketplace. And he was saying, had there been 10 people from 10 individuals from my people like me, this would never have happened to me. And some narrations say that he was saying, where are the supporters of Ali Muhammad? And they dragged him into the marketplace and they beheaded him in the marketplace in front of everyone. So they threw Muslim bin Aqil top of the castle of the evil enemy of Allah, Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. This is before he left Kufa to go to Karbala. This is before that happened. Remember, he ended up in Karbala as well. Still in Kufa. This is just the beginning of his evil. He's throwing Muslim bin Aqil from the roof, and he's threatening all the Alawiyin in Kufa. He's not sparing a single person. And then he is literally chopping the head of Hani bin Urwa in the marketplace. This is just on his way out of Kufa, and he throws Mukhtar into jail. Also, he smacked Mukhtar on the eye with the stick. You could argue, this is the origin story of Mukhtar. Because what happened? Because Mukhtar bin Abu Ubaid al-Thaqafi, he was in the jail of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, and he was in jail whilst Imam Hussein al-Islam was being slaughtered in Karbala. Did he have an excuse? Well, yes, he had an excuse for not being there. But despite that, Sayyid Ahmed Al-Hasan Salamun alayhi explains whoever didn't reach Imam Hussein, it didn't get that reward that those who were with Imam Hussein got. Despite all of this, Muslim bin Aqil being martyred, Hani bin Urwa being martyred, Sa'd being imprisoned, Maytham al-Tammar was in prison with Mukhtar together. And so Dr. Allah explained in the book of Yawm al-Hussein that Mukhtar came out with this conviction. He came out with this belief, conviction that he was going to take revenge on the killers of Imam Hussein. And he did. And we'll cover this in another majlis. How did he get this conviction? The Dr. Allah explains that this is because that Mukhtar was actually in prison in the castle of Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad with Maytham al-Tammar. Maytham al-Tammar had heard from Imam Ali alayhi salam that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would send somebody to take revenge on the killers of Imam Hussein and anyone who supported those killers, the army as well. And Maytham al-Tammar had passed on this information to Mukhtar. So when Mukhtar came out of the prison, through Shafa', through Wasila, Wasta, through intercession. Intercession was the brother of his wife was Abdullah bin Umar. So he had a letter written and sent to Abdullah bin Umar, Sahabi, who then did intercession on behalf of Mukhtar to have him released. When Mukhtar bin Abu Ubayd al-Thaqafi came out, he was saying, I'm going to take revenge on the killers of Imam Hussein. He still has an eye, cut forehead in prison, but he knows what's going to happen. But going back to what does Sayyid Ahmed Al-Hasan say about what happened to the people of the time, specifically Maytham al-Tammar. So here, Dr. Ala Salim asks, this is page 176 of Yawm al-Hussein, part number 1, I beg your pardon. He says, I asked Sayyid Ahmed Al-Hasan, what people say about the martyrdom of Maytham al-Tammar. So Maytham al-Tammar, the Sayyid says, was martyred before 10th of Muharram. Before 10th of Muharram. Before 10th of Muharram, he was martyred. But he was like other people. He was like other people in the matter of falling back behind Imam Hussein from helping him. Behind Imam Hussein. Meaning, we can say that it was like delay. There was doubt. Call it what you want. So what the Sayyid is saying is actually Maytham al-Tammar should have been for the people who were with Imam Hussein. He should have been there. But for some reason he didn't go. So just to clarify, these days we're talking about regarding Muslim bin Aqil, these are all in Kufa. Now we're coming on to Maytham al-Tammar. The revolution of Imam Hussein did not just happen on the 10th of Muharram. This is from Sayyid Ahmed Al-Hasan. The revolution of Imam Hussein al-Islam did not happen only just on the 10th of Muharram. Started when he said no to the allegiance of Yazid. At least this is the certain beginning and hujjah on every Muslim. So when did Imam Hussein alayhi salam say no? He said it in Al-Madinah al-Munawwara. He said it there. And then he said it in Makkah. Everywhere Imam Hussein said no to the allegiance of this scumbag Lanati Yazid, that's a hujjah on every Muslim. And Maytham al-Tammar was not alone in his shortcoming. This is Maytham al-Tammar. He was martyred by proclaiming the love for Imam Ali. As I know that he was the one by whom they crucified him on a tree. Maytham al-Tammar. So the Sayyid says, even Mukhtar and Sulaiman bin Sarq and Ibrahim bin Malik al-Ashtar and others, كانوا مقصرين. They were shortcomers. These names, Sulaiman bin Sard. Who's Sulaiman bin Sard? He was the leader of Tawabin, the ones who came after Imam Hussein's martyrdom to say that we seek refuge and forgiveness from Allah for not being with Imam Hussein before he was martyred. They rose after his martyrdom. And Ibrahim bin Malik al-Ashtar, this is the son of Malik al-Ashtar, who actually was with Mukhtar in a number of his battles, fighting against the people like Mus'ab bin Zubair and others who were trying to kill off the Shia movement and taking revenge on the generals of those who killed Imam Hussein and his companions in Karbala. Until the believer comes out of the circle of taqsir, meaning shortcoming, his obligation is to stand at the door of Hussein and do what? Show his sword. After announcing the revolution, whether Hussein سواء طلب الحسين منه ذلك أو لم يطلب, meaning whether Al-Hussein asks him to do this or doesn't ask him to do this, the person should be showing that he is ready. He is for Hussein openly. And naturally, the door of Hussein goes or flows to the door of Muslim bin Aqil and everyone who Hussein had appointed. Then the Sayyid says here, تذكر قولي هذا دائما. Always remember what I tell you now. This is Sayyid Ahmed Al-Hasan, Ali Muhammad. May he be, his words be on our eyes and our head. من لم يقاتل دفاعا عن الحسين من لم يقاتل دفاعا عن الحسين عليه السلام في كربلاء فبتقصير منه. Whoever didn't fight defending Imam Hussein in Karbala, that's because of him being a shortcomer. Doesn't matter who it was, whether it was Abdullah bin Umar, Abdullah bin Zubair, Mus'ab bin Zubair, Muhammad bin al-Hanafiya, who was also Muhammad bin Ali, whether it was any Sahabi, whether it was any other of the wider Hashimiyin, or Sayyid Ahmed Al-Hasan, or Dr. Allah sometimes says Talibiyin, they were all shortcomers. Yes, Shia, they are Shia. Urubama awliyaullah, maybe they are friends of Allah, yes. But the ones who killed or fought with Al-Hussein, they are superior to them, because they lost the status of Shahada, of martyrdom. The ones who didn't go and fight with Imam Hussein, those people lost martyrdom in front of Imam Hussein. They lost this position. Is there anyone who can say no, they didn't lose this position? They lost it. How did they not lose this when in reality they lost this matter? They were not able to go to Karbala. This is the thing. And may Allah forgive this shortcomer first and foremost. In other words, there's no working from home here, especially for Imam Hussein. You had to be there. Americans will say be there or be square. Another way to say is you got to be there. There's no other place to be. Had to be there. Being there is not like anything else. Having the intention, wanting it, desiring it. You had to be there, had to get there somehow. And so therefore they didn't defend Imam Hussein, they were not martyred with him. Even if they were in the prison, the result is the same. It means they were not given the tawfiq, they were not given the ability for this mighty matter. Knowing that the problem isn't to find fault in them. To say this is, he's saying, I'm not here to find fault in the people. It's not I'm gonna harm them, have a stab at them. In fact, stabbing them or having a go with them is rejected, not allowed to do that. But we say they are Shia, and some of them are friends of Allah. And from them are those who fulfill the mighty matter, like Mukhtar Thaqafi and Ibrahim bin Malik al-Ashtar. So he's acknowledging the amazing contributions, amazing. You have to remember, you see, Mukhtar wasn't by himself. He had armies with him. And Ibrahim bin Malik al-Ashtar had thousands of people with him. And all those people, yes, amazing contributions. But when we say بِتَقْصِيرٍ بِقَدْرٍ مَا, بِتَقْصِيرٍ بِقَدْرٍ مَا, when I say because of a shortcoming in one way or another, it is to explain the justice and the reality and the equity. For the one who finds fault in them is not necessarily right, nor the one who says they are free of shortcoming. None of them is 100% right. The truth is, they were shortcomers in some way, shape, or form. In some way, they were shortcomers. And this is the وَهَذَا هُوَ حَالُ الْبَشَرِ. This is the situation with mankind. Even the ones who were martyred in front of Imam Hussein, they are not of the same standard or the same level. Some of them are shortcomers when compared to others, despite that all of them were martyred in front of Imam Hussein. Can you imagine? Imagine this? Can you imagine this now? Where does it leave everybody else? Where does it leave us? What are we? What are we when Qa'im al-Muhammad is saying this? If Qa'im al-Muhammad is saying this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying this. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying this, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam also said this. I guess the thing to remember is next time we ever go for ziyarah to Al-Kufa, we'll go very humble, because now we have an idea. You know, history is not necessarily about exact dates. It's not always easy to pin down who was sat there, when, which day. We get a general idea of what happened. But one thing you cannot deny, when you go to Al-Kufa and you go and you see, oh, Mukhtar, this is where Mukhtar fell. Oh, this is where he's buried. And you go and you see, they say around the corner is Hani. Hani's house, yeah, Hani, he was martyred here. And around the corner is Muslim bin Aqil. These things tell you the story. These things you cannot belie them. And you go to Karbala and you see that this is Imam Hussein. Where's Maulana Abu al-Fadl Abbas? Oh, he's over there. So you realize that he was over there when they chopped off his hands and they beat him on the head. And you realize Muslim bin Aqil was there. You see, oh, this is where the mihrab Imam Ali al-Islam was. They were all living around the places where they had memories of Ahlul-Bayt. This is what the lovers of Ahlul-Bayt would do. They would live around the same spots, which reminded them of Ahlul-Bayt. They would say at the end, and we will cover Mukhtar inshallah more detail later, but they say that Mukhtar bin Abu Ubaid al-Thaqafi, when he was finally, he went out fighting, and when they had cut him down, he went and he dragged himself towards the pulpit of where Imam Ali al-Islam used to give khutbah. And they also say that when Muslim bin Aqil, he was at the end, he knew they were about to throw him from the roof. He looked towards Karbala and he said, "Ya Imam, if only you knew." Only you knew what these people had done. They had backstabbed you, they betrayed you. And Imam was saying, Sahib al-Kashf, did Allah show him this? Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does what he wills. Doesn't necessarily mean following the truth is going to be easy, right? So basically, news finally reached Imam Hussein. Even they would say that Muslim bin Aqil was corresponding with the Imam Hussein alayhi salam during his stay in Kufa, keeping him updated. But look what happened to the best in that age. In the book, Dr. Allah asked Sayyid Ahmed Al-Hasan, does that mean that, the companions of Imam Hussein, as narrated, are the best of all companions forever? And the Sayyid says, no, that's not true, it's not correct. Because as we know in other narrations, it says that the companions of time are the best, at least in this time. So we can only pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God Almighty, enables us to be in the right place at the right time. Never mind causing pain to the Qaim, the Imam of the time. You have to remember, many narrations, they describe Sayyid Ahmed Al-Hasan, the first Imani, the first Mahdi, as the 12th Imam after Imam Ali, meaning from the progeny of Imam Ali. Some narrations describe him as an Imam. So we are in the era of an Imam. Of course, in the will he's described as the first Mahdi. We can only pray and hope that Allah forgives our shortcomings and enables us to see what is the truth and to follow it. This is why we should try to read dua like Allahumma arina al-haqq haqqan warzuqna ittiba'ah. Oh God Almighty, help us to see the truth as truth and to follow it. Wa arina al-batila batilan warzuqna ijtinaba. Let us see falsehood as falsehood and to avoid it. And we should always pray for the Qaim of Ali Muhammad and Baqiyatullah, the remnants of Allah in the earth, to be established, and for Sahib al-Zaman, Imam Muhammad ibn Hasan al-Mahdi, to be established, and for their progeny, and for us to be with them this life and the hereafter, and our progeny to be with them in this life and the hereafter. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا قال محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والآخرة للمتقين.
Hussein, 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 Hussein. Last the innocent Muslim was slain, that strange traveler, the Safir Hussein, the Safir Hussein, the Safir Hussein. In city of Kufa, a new feast begun. Yet Muslims' body lay out in the sun. The day was of Eid, but mercy was none. The day was of Eid, but mercy was none. That strange traveler, the Safir Hussein, the Safir Hussein, the Safir Hussein. He was killed through torment, through cruelty, pain. Now grief is written in fate of Hussein. The plan of killing Hussein has begun. That strange traveler, the Safir Hussein, the Safir Hussein, the Safir Hussein. They lie so cruelly on Muslims' back. The marks of pain reach to every crack. To his rib the signs of the wave had come. That strange traveler, the Safir Hussain, the Safir Hussain, the Safir Hussain. He knocked every door, but none let him stay. From street to street he wandered that day. No soul in the Kufa gave him a home. That strange traveler, the Safir Hussain, the Safir Hussain, the Safir Hussain. Even his corpse faced torture in anew. They tied his legs and dragged him through. The market mocked as the blood did run. That strange traveler, the Safir Hussain, the Safir Hussain, the Safir Hussain. Allah, the innocent Muslim was slain. That strange traveler, the Safir Hussain, the Safir Hussain, the Safir Hussain. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون اللهم لا خذل حسين اللهم لا خذل المسلم لأخيه
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى آل والمحدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا. I came with hope, they praised your name. Their voices swore they'd never stray. With lifted hands they pledged their lives. They left me stranded in dismay. Don't come, my master, don't come to Kufa. They swore by day, they fled by night. Their faith grew thin, they bowed to might. They broke their vows when time came to fight. Each alley turned its face away. Each door was shut, each lantern dim. The ones who claimed they'd die beside me betrayed me when time grew grim. Don't come, my master, don't come to Kufa. They swore by day, they fled by night. Their faith grew thin, they bowed to might. They broke their vows when time came to fight. Don't come, my master, don't come to Kufa. They swore by day, they fled by night. Their faith grew thin, they bowed to might. They broke their vows when time came to fight. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم تسليما كثيرا. This was an incomplete one. Inshallah, next time it will be completed.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد المكي والمهدي وسلم تسليما. This is let's call it a Noha, the sad poem written by brother Ahmed Al-Hasan. So he performed this, read this one at the office in one of the gatherings, and it was introduced by Sheikh Watiq Al-Husseini, Sayyid Watiq Al-Husseini, and then it was made into a production by the Savior Channel and recited by Muslim Al-Jayashi. The Muslim Al-Jayashi is the one who often recites the nasheeds on the Arabic Savior Channel. It's called Malakat Dima'uka Ya Hussein Biradati. I'm just going to read it as a poem, and I'll give you a basic translation, which is in English, which I've used AI to try to write it as a poem in English. So, inshallah, hopefully the English works as well. So I'll read the Arabic and I'll read the English, so we get the benefit of both. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. ملكت دماؤك يا حسين إرادتي صيرتني عبدا إليك مريدا. Your blood, O Hussein, has captured my will, making me a servant devoted to you still. فعبيدك الأحرار قد علمتهم لا يرتضون مع الحسين يزيدا. Your free servants, you taught with grace never to accept Yazid with Hussein in place. عبد إليك وأنت عبد للذي أعطيته الولدان والمولود. A servant to you, while you serve the one who gave you the children and the newborn son. فجزاك ربك يا حسين بكربلاء ذكرا عليا باقيا وخلودا. So your Lord rewarded you, O Hussein, in Karbala, with lofty remembrance, eternal forever to stay. فالحر من أهدى النفوس لأهدها أحرارهم إذ حاربوا كعبيدا. The free are those who gave their souls to their kin. Their freest brought you as servants within. والحر من أعطاك كل وجوده ومضى بدربك يا حسين شهيدا. The free gave you their entire being and walked your path, O Hussein, a martyr fleeing. If you paid attention, you would have heard the word al-hur. So it has double meaning. That everyone who gives themselves free was like Hur bin Yazid al-Riyahi. والعبد من يرضى الحياة بذلها وإمامه بين الطغاة وحيدا. So who is the slave? The slave is he who accepts a life of disgrace, leaving his Imam alone amidst tyrants' chase. إني وجدت اليوم كل أئمتي لن يسجدوا للظالمين سجودا. That today I find all my Imams steadfast and true, never bowing to oppressors, their submission they rule. فرأيتهم ما بين من شقت له هاما وكان على الطغاة عنيدا. So I saw them, some with heads cleft in fight, defiant against tyrants with unyielding might. ما بين مسموم يجود من نفسه حتى قضى السفيه عليه فقيدا. Some poisoned, giving their lives to the end, slain by fools, yet as martyrs they ascend. ما بين مذبوح يرفع رأسه فوق الرماح ويتلو التوحيد. Some slaughtered, their heads raised on spears, reciting Tawheed amidst the oppressor's jeers. So if you know the head of Imam Hussein and Islam, is narrated in Sunni and Shia books, was heard reciting verses of Surah Al-Kahf all the way through the cities to Syria. هذه العقيلة رغم كل مصابها لم تثنها الآلام والتقييد. This is a noble lady, despite all her pain and yielded by suffering or chains, cruel strain. هزت مجال سؤال آل هند صوتها اجمع يزيد عدة وجنودا. Her voice shook the courts of Hind's vile clan, while Yazid amassed his forces and wicked plan. في آخر الأزمان ننظر دولة فيها سنرقب أحمد الموعودا. In the end times we await a state divine, where we will seek Ahmad the promised sign. ذا قائم الأطهار ابن محمد خير الورى بعد الهداة عميدا. He, the riser of the pure, Muhammad's heir, the best of men, after the guide, a leader fair. خير الورى بعد الهداة عميدا. The best of men, after the guides, a leader fair. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم تقبل منا هذه المطاعة المزجاة واغفر لنا الكيل وتصدق علينا إنك تجزي المتصدقين. اللهم مكن لقائم على محمد وبقية الله في الأرض أحمد الحسن وصاحب الزمان محمد بن الحسن المهدي أولادهما المهديين منتجبين المصطفين الأخيار. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إسرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إسرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. اللهم ارزقنا الصحة والعافية في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ارزقنا شفاعة محمد وآل محمد. اللهم اقض حوائجنا. اللهم اقض حوائج كل الإنسان حول العالم. اللهم ارحم جميعا واحفظهم من كل سوء وكروه وريح قلوبهم وارزقهم الصحة والعافية وأصلح أمورهم واهدهم للرشد، سواء كانوا ممثلين في مكتبة نجف ورشد المبارك من الممثلين حول العالم، أم الأساتذة الكرام وطلبة الأعزاء في الحوزة المهدوية، أم الإخوة والأخوات حول العالم. وصلى الله fulfill all the needs of the Ansar around the world, whether they are Ansar in the blessed office in blessed Najaf, or whether they are teachers and students in the Hawza, or whether they are representatives around the world, or whether they are brothers and sisters around the world. Fulfill their needs, protect them from all evil, badness and difficulties and hardships. Oh Allah, show us the truth as truth and let us follow it. Show us falsehood as falsehood and let us avoid it. Do not place a burden on us, the likes of which we cannot bear, the likes of which was placed on the people before us. Oh Allah, gather us with Sayyid Ahmed Al-Hasan and Imam Al-Mahdi and their progeny. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وعلى محمد الطيبين الطاهرين الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما كثيرا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفوة الله. السلام عليك يا وارث نوح نبي الله. السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله. السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله. السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد بن حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا وارث أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى. السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت بك. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مدلهمات ثيابها، وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين، وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي، وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا، وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي، وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. زيارة علي أكبر عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا بني رسول الله، السلام عليك يا بني نبي الله، السلام عليك يا بني أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا بني الحسين الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وابن المظلوم. لعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. دار شهداء كربلاء. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحباءه، السلام عليكم يا أصفياء الله وأوداءه، السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله، السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي محمد الحسن بن علي الولي الناصح، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي عبد الله بأبي أنتم وأمي، طبتم وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما، فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم. زياد القاسم ومسلم بن عقيل وهاني بن عروة. السلام عليك يا قاسم بن الحسن ومسلم بن عقيل وهاني بن عروة وحبيب بن مظاهر والحر الشهد الرياحي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إجارة مولانا أبو الفضل العباس. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك أيها العبد الصالح المطيع لله ولرسوله، أشهد أنك قد جاهدت ونصحت وصبرت حتى أتاك اليقين. لعن الله الظالمين لكم من الأولين والآخرين وألحقهم بدرك الجحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. زيارة مولانا علي بن موسى رضا. السلام عليك يا مولاي وابن مولاي، السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء، السلام عليك يا سلطان يا أبا الحسن علي بن موسى الرضا ورحمة الله وبركاته. زيارة الإمام المهدي عليه السلام مع سيد أحمد الحسن سلام الله عليه. السلام عليك يا صاحب الزمان، السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا أحمد الحسن اليماني الموعود، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان، عجل الله فرجك وسهل مخرجك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما. السلام. اللهم صل على آل محمد الأئمة والمهديين وسلم تسليما.